right, we're going to be moving on today to fractional exponents. This is 10.1. You're going to need your whiteboards out because we're going to do some review. What is an exponent before we start? What is an exponent?
It's like a power.
A power. Yes. What notation have we designed to tell us it's a power? How do I say something? When you look at something, how do you know it's an exponent?
It's got the little number in the top.
Yes, the little number at the top right. Okay, here we go. Let's review. Get out your whiteboards. On your marks. Get set. Go. I want you to what does x to the third mean? X to the negative third, and I want you to simplify the bottom one. Ready? Go. What does x to the third mean? What does x to the negative third mean? And what does the simplified version of x squared times x to the fourth mean? Or what is it? The answer to it.
Oh, I hear
Right? All right. X to the third power. I saw somebody on their board that says x cubed. What did anybody else write?
X times x times x.
X times x times x is the same as x cubed. That is correct. But what happens when I make it negative? What does that do to it?
Negative x.
Does it make it negative in front? X times x times x?
No, it means it's 1 over x.
No, it does not mean that, by the way. It means 1 over x to the third, which in a sense means 1 over x times x times x, okay? So the negative notation means we put it in the denominator. Are you with me so far?
I read it like 1 over x and 1 over x.
Oh, and that will work also. You could do 1 over x, 1 over x, and 1 over x. Okay. So now when I simplify x squared times x to the fourth, what do I do to those exponents? You add them to make it x to the how much?
6.
All right. It is really important that we know the notation. You need to understand that when we have a little teeny number to the top right, it means we're multiplying it times ourselves. We as humans, we didn't come up with the concept of exponents. They were just there. But we designed the notation. X to the little number at the top means we're multiplying it by itself. But the notation when we have a negative means we have to put it down and divide by it. Let's see what happens when I do something a little different. Let's see what happens when I make it into fractions. So get out your note sheets. We're going to do this together. Make sure you take really good notes. All right, now I have a square root. Are you with me so far? They have instructed us to write this in what we call exponential form. This square root right here means something in exponents. And you have already been doing this. So I'm going to do a little example over here. If I have x to the fourth and I have a square root, what is it out here?
X squared.
How many partners are there in x to the fourth?
4.
2 of them, x to the 2. Are you with me? What did I do from the fourth to the second? You divided by how much?
2.
You took it in half, okay? That is very important. So this notation that we're making is not, we didn't make this up. This is the way math has to be. Are you ready? So this, if they ask us to write it in fractional form, is the same as 3x to the 1/2 power because the square root means I'm taking half of the exponents. Go ahead and write that on your paper. That's the answer for number 1. Open parentheses, 3x. Close parentheses to the 1/2. That is the first one for number 1. All right. So whenever we take the square root, we are taking it to the 1/2 power. Before we go too far, there is an invisible number right up here on that radical.
2.
It's a 2, okay? So that's why we have a 1/2 as our exponent right down here. Let's do another one. Number 2. Now, which is a little different. This time, not only do I have a fractional exponent, but I have a number on the outside. If I just, for a moment, took off this part, and I just came down, this would be n to the what power?
Into the 1/2.
1 to the 1/2. We're gonna do this the long way, and then we're gonna simplify it in a minute, okay? So then I really have that fifth still there, right? I still have that fifth. So it's n to the 1/2, but I have a fifth there also. So what do I do to these exponents right here?
Do you multiply?
You do multiply them. What is 1/2 times 5?
It's 2.5.
Yeah, but we need to put it in a fraction. It is 5 over 2. So this becomes n to the 5 over 2. That is our answer. Now I'm hoping that you can skip this middle step in here and jump straight to the end. So the way we can jump to the end is the 5 goes on top and the number there with the radical goes on the bottom. Let's do another one. Are there any questions about this one? I would suggest right now, I'm going to give you some time to I would suggest you actually do write this, gentlemen. Are you looking up here at me? I would suggest you do write this so that you have a note on how you got it, because I know that some of you are behind on your homework and you're going to go back and you're going to need to know how you got it. And you won't have to even look at the person who's behind, because I say that I'm pretty sure all of you are. All right.
Wait, so the one on the problem.
Go ahead.
No.
This one on the outside goes on top, and the one with the radical goes on the bottom. Okay? All right? And that would be a wonderful sentence to write. The exponent goes on the top, the radical goes on the bottom. I'll give you time to write that if you need to. You also can read the textbook parts, and they'll tell you that too. Let's do another one. All right. I want you to... what in the world? This is not a square root anymore. This is a fifth root. This is a fifth root. All right. So I'm going to have the 10x there. But I need to have, in this red box, we're going to have an exponent. I'm going to let you try this one on your own. I want you to try this on your own. I got one person who's made an educated guess.
I've done all of them.
You've already done number 3. You think you have an answer for this. All right? I'm going to let you try this one. I've got 2 people who are finished. Taking out the box. We're going to have a fraction. I'm going to have a numerator and a denominator.
It's 4 over 5.
Asa says that the numerator is 4 and the denominator is 5. Raise your hand if you agree with that. Aiden, you agree with that. Why is the 4 the numerator?
Because that's how it works.
Because it's how it works. Where was it in the original problem?
Top right corner.
It's on that top right corner. And we said that that's the numerator. And then we have a fifth root, so it goes in the denominator. You gentlemen are correct. All right, now we're going to go backwards. We're going to make this into radical form. So we're going to have a 3n here. Are we going to have a cube root or a square root? The 3 or the 2? Which one goes?
The 3 goes out.
The 3 goes outside. The 3 goes here?
Yeah.
Where's the 2 go?
And you don't have to write it.
You don't have to write it because it's invisible. Okay, there we go. Oops, positive. All right, there we're done. Because the one on the bottom is the radical. The one on the top is the exponent. Let's do another one. You do this one on your own and raise your hand. I want to give you a chance to try this by yourself.
Done.
I've got one person who's done.
Done.
All right, I'm calling on someone at random.
Done.
JD, what'd you get?
I got 10 the square, like the square root, and then the 5 on the left.
Okay.
You said the 5th root.
The fifth root. There you go. The fifth root.
Parentheses 7.
All right. This is a really good exercise. This is the fifth root of 10x to the 7th power, just so you guys understand how to read it. It's a really good thing for you to do, is for you to figure out how to say it so that you can, I know you knew the answer, but you don't want to sound like you don't know the answer. So this is the 5th root of 10x to the 7th power. All right, do this next one, number 6. Zach, tell me what the answer is. The cube root of 3x to the 4th power. Raise your hand if you agree. That is correct. All right, gentlemen, you have learned how to evaluate fractional exponents. This is all we have to cover today in this section.
That's all we have to go. Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
We're done with this lesson.
Yeah, let's go. I just